Alright, let's look through some components here and let's pick out something to add to our website. So I'm just shopping for, here's our alerts. We can look at different type of badges and notifications, breadcrumbs, button groups. The cards are pretty nice. Carousels are really fancy. Let's take a look at a sliding carousel. It has no dots. Alright, here we go. We got some controls on this one. I like it. So, and they give you the example code. So, and if we look, it uses IDs and classes that aren't in my custom CSS. And the reason why they'll work, again, just to be clear, is if I switch back here to Visual Studio Code, and it's because I have the Bootstrap CSS, and down here at the bottom, the Bootstrap and jQuery JavaScript. So because of these two JavaScript files and because of this Bootstrap CSS file, any of these cool Bootstrap things will work. So it's really handy. I can just copy in this stuff and drop it into its own section. And so that's the next piece. Where do I drop it in? And so easily enough, container and then a row, and then bam, you can drop it in. But you can also try to put it inside a column as well. Let's actually inspect this and see where it's in. This might be a really confusing page, but let's see. Carousel example, there it is. And so it's in an ID and just in a divider. I don't see. Okay, and this whole thing is one giant row. Yikes. And a container. So it's a container in a row and then just dropped in there. So let's do that same thing. So container and a row. Maybe in the about section we could replace this. No, you know what? I'll just make another section right below here. How about section? And I don't have any about or div class container. There we go. And I'll put in div class row. Right in the row. I'll just paste all this code. And there it is. All of these pictures are linking to images that I don't have. So that's not going to work, but let's take a look to see how it looks anyway. So here's my new section, and that's my slider. First slide. It's brilliant. It's so good. But let's try replacing these slides and see how it looks elsewise. And maybe I'm just going to copy this class just to give it. I know it's not the about section, but hopefully that'll give it some rules to pump it up a little bit. Alright, so now the image. Let's get rid of this first slide image, and I'll say the source is going to look for, this is going to be in my home file, so just go to the image folder and then take my background image. So, and then I'll use that same source just for now as a placeholder while I test to make sure that this works. I'll put that in that image, and that in this image. Okay. When all those look good, save it, switch it, reload it, and there you go. Background. There you go. Cool. So now I can work on some spacing, the coloring. I can inspect to see why this isn't going to full screen. That's because this container is giving it sides. So what if I took it out of the container? So if I cut out this container and the row, actually had it just free floating, not in its own section. I cut these two out as well. So, I'm sorry, scrolling up and down. Dropping code in here like this can get confusing, so often I try to add in a comment, slider, start, and then at the end of this section, and the slider, so that way I can just move this around as needed. So without it in a section and it goes full screen like this, and that's kind of nice. I might want to keep it something like that. Maybe add in a border on the top and the bottom, or just a spacer. But it's kind of nice. Alright, so that's adding a Dropbox. Adding an element from, not Dropbox, but Bootstrap. And then we can pick and choose from a bunch of other really helpful little elements. And now what we'll do next is start to add our own classes to this and other things, so that if I wanted to make another slider that was formatted just the way I wanted it, then I would copy and paste that slider, and instead of maybe example controls, I'll make my own, and in my CSS here I'll have rules for that, my own version of the slider that'll space it out the way I want it, add the right colors the way I want it, and all that. So we're going to talk about that next.